Hello, Judy here from Thistledew Creations. Thanks for joining me again today. I did a little series a few weeks ago with these little journals made from upholstery fabric samples and scraps of lace and feathers and fabric, and they're just adorable. Some of them had, there was 3 more because I gave one to my sister-in-law Rose, and one to my son and his girlfriend as well. So they're already gone. But these 4 remain, actually 5, but these 4 are all sort of the same. They have quote a day paper inside them. And they have, instead of throwing away or taking out the template that I used to do the signature, to sew the signature in, I decided to make it wider and keep it in there as a pocket. And this one I even did the fancy edging on it, which isn't really great for a pocket, but this was pretty thick cardstock. And I love the feather adornment there, decoration. And then a little bit of necklace chain. And when you glue it, it really stiffens that up. It's really nice. And then I love these green ones with the simple cream colored vintage trim on them. And they've got like a newsprint with a green tinge for pockets in the front and back cover. And also for that center pocket in the middle. I haven't figured out like little things to stick in there yet, but I will go through some of my smaller tags or make some smaller tags to put in them. I like the plaid in this one. Goes nice with the green. So those were the original design where it has the vertical paper. So you actually use the book like this instead of like this. And the other thing that's kind of weird about these ones was, you know, the front page is plain at the top on the side, this side, and has the saying at the bottom of the page down here. And then when you turn the page, you've got a blank page at the top because it's recycled from a notepad. It's actually out of this notepad, Thought a Day. And I believe it came from Winners. You do see them there all the time. And I've used quite a bit. There's probably a 1/2 inch gone out of it already. So I think I'm going to use this same paper for the inside of this, but I'm going to do it differently. And I'll show you how I'm going to change up this design. This came to me in an aha moment because one of my most popular notebook videos was one where I have the opening like a book and 2 little pads of paper. And so I did one the other day. It was actually on Sunday when I was waiting for my son to come home, which is something I often do. My very first junk journal was made while I was waiting for my son to come home. And because it just takes my mind off of the waiting. And I used the dot paper, which he really likes. And I get that at the Dollarama in a paper pad. I don't think I have the top of it here still. It says sketchbook on it, I think. And then it has different color bands. But anyway, I cut it to size to fit in here. I used eyelets, metal eyelets, in the other little booklet series that I did. Was before I had the eyelets, and it was just the hole reinforcers and then string binding it in. So it makes it a removable page. These ones wouldn't be removable or refillable. And I thought after I made this one, as much as I like how sturdy this is, like those pages, you could probably have a tough time tearing them out actually. I thought it might be better. Well, before I say that, this just happened by chance. It has this beautiful black lace with gold and silver and sequins and beads. And this eyelet just happened to end up right where the other sequences are. So you almost don't notice it. In fact, if I put another little piece of sequins over there, you probably wouldn't notice it at all. But I didn't mind that. It blends in, was the point. And then over here, where this one is, I glued a little 3-dimensional glass bubble with like a bulldog, and then a gear and a key. Just a little collage of metal parts. And I thought that was really cute too. So I really like this one, but I think this one that we're going to make today, we're going to do one more thing differently to hopefully improve it. And that is to use brads. So I have my brads right handy. I think these are too, they might not be too wide. I used these in a booklet, my little fabric and lace sampler booklets. I use these. Actually, it's not too wide. So it'd be either that or a brad. Now the thing with the brads is, I think I would do them with brads if I had thought to glue the brads in to the covers. I would have to have them visible on the cover on the outside, the way I'm thinking right now, and coming through here, so then you can put your papers on. Then you could remove the papers once you've used it up and put new papers in. So then I could sell refill kits for them, kind of thing. But I've already glued these all up onto cardstock, so I can't really do the brads unless I want to see them, which wouldn't be the end of the world either. I think with this blue that I've picked out to do, I probably want silver ones. And I need 4 of them. And I suppose too, if you were going to use decorative brads, like I've got some that are dragonflies and things like that, you could put dragonfly ones on the front and just plain ones on the back or something. But none of these really coordinate very well. There's a little, it's kind of pinkish. I think I'll stick with my visible brads idea, as long as they're long enough too. So once that goes through, that doesn't need to hold that many papers. And then maybe I could do one with this as well. I've got quite a few of those. There was 50 in this box, and I don't think very many were missing. Anyway, listen to me ramble. We'll do one with brads, and I'll just make them visible. So I'm going to use my crocodile, Temu style crocodile, to make the holes for the brads. I could probably get away with just my pokey tool, but this will make a better sized hole for it. So first thing I need to do, because of the way these covers are, I've got the pinking sheer edges on the 3 sides, and that's right from the sample book, upholstery fabric samples. And then this edge is just cut because this is the end. You've got 2 little holes there where it was stapled in to the upholstery sample book. So what I've done is I've used the trim on the front to cover that up in each case. It's still showing a bit on the back, but it's not horrible. It's just not zigzagged. So that's why I wanted to cover it. So what I kind of need to do is figure out what I want to do for a design. And what I had planned was this dollar store crochet lace. And use my new scissors that Wanda sent me. Try them out. Nice crisp cut. And then I'm going to use my 3-in-1, and I'm going to have that sticking out a little bit. I want to still see the blue through those ovals, so I don't want it to go too far. Oh, and the first thing I do too with this corduroy phrase, so I found that if I just rub my glue stick along it, because it has the cardstock on the back of it, holding it fairly stiff or rigid. And so I found if I just rub my glue stick along there, that's enough glue to stop that from fraying. And it's going to be hidden by the trim. So I'm not worried about what it looks like. It's not perfect. And then I'll take this trim and I'll glue it up. I'm going to go around this pattern. Just a nice thin little bead of that 3-in-1. So this could be considered a no-sew journal because we're going to use the brads instead of sewing in the signature, which a lot of people are looking for that. They're intimidated or they don't know how to sew or whatever the case may be. So this is that. It's no-sew. And then I'm going to take this and have the little ovals over top of the blue. And I'm going to push that just a bit. Make sure it's kind of even, where you see it from the back side. You got to move fast with this stuff. And at the same time, I'm pressing. And then I'll take my scissors and trim that. I left it just a little long, so I could get it glued down, not have to worry about getting it exactly where it needs to be, side to side, and then I just trim a little bit off. So that's pretty, but this is going to take it up. I should have put this in underneath maybe. That's okay, I'll just do it like this. Cover up this edge of the lace. And then that beige is showing. And this I'm just going to kind of do a zigzag through the center. I'm using a fair bit of glue because it's corduroy that it's going on to. It's going to absorb into the ribbon, which is fabric ribbon, and it's going to absorb into the corduroy. So I don't want it I want it to stick well, so I'm putting a fair bit of glue. So I just love that that was just a perfect blue for there. And then I'll trim that off. Might need to re-glue those ends. Nice scissors, Wanda. And I haven't done any inking on here. I don't think I want to on this one. Maybe a very light tan because of the edging here. But that's pretty. And then what I want to do is fold it over and kind of line up the zigzags. See, I don't want it, I don't know if you can see. I don't want it like this, where you can see the white in between. I want them lined up. So that determines where the middle is going to be. And it just happens that it lines up pretty good at the end here as well. I mean, you've got the 1/4 inch increments with this to get it right. And then I just take make sure it's lined up on both sides. That's one thing I never even thought to check, but I guess it's hard to ensure for sure that it's lined up here and here because it's 2 different cuts, but it is pretty good. And then give that a bit of a thing going over with the bone folder. But then what I'll also do is turn it inside out and do the same thing. It's pretty thick. I'm going through cardstock or thick paper and the fabric. So it's pretty thick. But this should help to train it. Because I found that the other ones, once they had the pages in them, it was hard to train them to stay closed. Like, look at how this one wants to sit. It wants to sit like that, open. So I had them under something heavy. I played with the spine, trying to get it to relax, because it's one thick signature, which was part of the problem, is that there was too many pages in the signature. Oh, I'm really liking this one. So now these ones will have either a thought of the day or a plain page. So I thought what I would do is maybe alternate them. So you've got a thought of the day and then a plain page, and then alternating them down the stack. So if I wanted 10 pages, take my 10 pages, and then they're going to need to be trimmed for width. And I just want to get my approximate height. So if I cut it there, where my fingernail is on that line, that's going to give me just 3 7/8. And from the top to that line is 3 3/8 maybe. Oh no. 3 3/4. So I could do two, make them both 3 3/4. It's going to have a little bit of a blank spot at the top of the one side, but I'm not too worried about them being, the top 2 pages will be identical. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this one, cut the bottom one first to 3 3/4. Sorry, there's 3 1/2, and then the next line over is 3 3/4. Just make sure, because I'm going to try to do these all at once. Make sure they're all lined up. And lined up right down the grid here. Hold it firmly there. And if your fingers are on this plastic shield, they're away from the blade. It looks awfully close, but it's good. So hold it down firmly and use that guillotine action. So that went just above the line. And then I could, let me see if 3 3/4, no, this way, if 3 3/4 would come just above a line. It leaves me less of a border at the top, which I think I like. So I'm going to go with that, holding it down. And that leaves me a very thin strip, about 3/8 of an inch, maybe, wide. So I could do some micro books, really micro. Oh, probably what I could do though is stamp some wording on those. So probably not scrap. I'll just put them in my little black and white drawer. And then these for width, they're the same width right now, but they're a little wider than they need to be. So these pages, if I go right to the center, which I don't want to do, it's 4 1/16. So if I come out, if I go out to the end of the ruler there, and I measure 3 1/2 would work. 3 3/8. Let's see here. This doesn't have a very good 1/2 inch mark, which I do need to see. Grab this ruler. So 4 1/16 or so. But if I move it out a bit, 3 3/4 would even work. And if I center that up on here, I'm going to make sure I can see all of my quotes. 3 3/4 is going to be tight on that one. I don't know if you can see, but some of the quotes are longer than others, of course. And I might have to just choose ones with narrower quotes. Trying not to make it complicated. So 4, actually a little bit wider than 4, but it would be over the edge of the brown. I don't really want that. 4 works there, and 4 works there. So let me just take one of these for a second. Cut it, or not cut it, but just crease it at the halfway point. And then measure from that crease 2 inches each direction. To give me my 4 inches. And I'll have to do the same thing with these plain ones, just so that I don't end up with excuse me, a big wide border at one side and no border at the other side. So I'll do the same thing here. Excuse me, that 3-in-1 glue sometimes irritates my throat like that. So then I'll do the guillotine again, just lining that. Actually, it is going to be wider than 4 for the first cut. It's about 4 1/4. I'm going to go just in. I'm going to do it so that you can just see, I don't know if you can see that, but you can just see my pencil mark. And it twisted on me. You really have to hold down so that the paper doesn't twist. And then I'll take and turn it around. And this is harder for you to see because it's right up under my blade. I know you probably can't see it. You're gonna have to trust me. And those are really narrow. Those are only 1/4 inch. See, they're just about the width of one of those squares. So I don't think I'm going to keep those. So that's one side of paper. And then this will be the other. Well, I'm not going to do it that way though. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do here in a sec. So the easy thing to do would be to just use quotes on one side, plain on the other side. But what I was thinking was I could do quote on the top and just make sure all the quotes are good, not cut off. Quote and then plain, or I mean, it doesn't, yeah, quote and then plain. I don't think it matters. I could go through all this and it won't even matter. And then quote and then plain. Quote and then plain. Because I don't think you're going to necessarily tear the pages out. And you're not necessarily going to flip them at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So I could have just kept them the way they were, but this way the quotes are evenly distributed in the book. One extra. So I got quote, plain, quote, plain, quote, plain, quote, plain, quote, plain. And on this side, quote, plain, quote, plain, quote, plain, quote, plain, quote, plain. I could do paper weaving with these. Maybe I'll dig those out. That's another quick video. an idea comes to me, and sometimes you just got to do it, right? Okay, so now these are a little short. I don't want to deal with that fact. I think I'll just center them up. And I might want to alter the spacing just so that when you close the book, all the bulk of the tangs or the legs of the brad aren't all in one spot. Will that matter? Not really much. So let's go. This is not easy to do on the fly. Usually have time to figure this stuff out behind the scenes first. Get this out of my way. I think I'm done with it. So a little bit more measuring. Just that I know I want it not too close to the edge. I've got a little mark there that's about 3/4 in. Pencil mark on my ruler from something else, some other project. But I know 2 centimeters is 3/4, so let's do 2 centimeters. It's just right around 3/4. I'm going to come down to that first line. It's going to be pretty close to the same on both sides because both top sheets have a quote. So I'm going to go right on the first line at 2 centimeters and then come back in 2 centimeters. So it ends up being 10 centimeters wide. I'm coming back into the 8. And then I'm going to poke those. So I'm just grabbing my poking pad, which I keep with my signature sewing box. It's full of holes. Make sure my pages are lined up how I want them. And grab my pokey tool. I don't think I need the crocodile thing actually. So that'll go on one side. And I'll do the same measuring. I could measure or I could just poke through. If there's an alternative to measuring, I do it. I have to measure for my job all day, every day, with precision. Being a kitchen designer. So let me again check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 and 10. So then I've got those pokes made where I want them. I'll center this up. I'm leaving just a little sliver down the side. Make sure it's even. Let's see if I can make a pencil mark. And then I'm just going to mark the top of my sheet. Just set it beside it before I move it, leaving a little tiny border, and that matches up pretty well. And those pencil marks are pretty small. Let's reinforce them a bit. Actually, the crocodile might be better just because it'll give me a maybe a cleaner hole. But this will go through. Yeah, that'll go through just fine. So use your crocodile if you want, or your Temu brand crocodile if you have one. Now, am I going to be into my ribbon? I am. That's not ideal, but these prototypes usually have some glitchy thing, don't they? Next time when I decorate, I'll make sure that I don't put my ribbon over so far, or I'll move the holes closer together. But you see, if I was going to use these, I'd have the same problem, because these are ending up being almost the same, just a little narrower. So I'd have the same problem with those if it's going to end up interfering with my ribbon. But it's okay. It's all good. So then these will have to go from the outside in. At least it's centered in my ribbon. I sometimes really luck out that way. And it's also centered in that rib. So that's kind of ideal. And that's not wanting to go through there as easily. Let's give it a little help. So it's centered in the rib this way, and it's centered in the ribbon that way. You couldn't have planned that better. And then on the back, again, I can't even see my holes now. So find it and then poke it through the other direction is helping that brad go through. Because when you poke from the inside out, you're kind of forcing all those fibers to the outside, and then it's hard for the brad to get through. So push them back towards the inside, and then the brad will follow them. Could use just a little bit bigger hole. Crocodile might have been better. And it does make it easy. And see, now these ones aren't lining up as well. So that fabric probably isn't perfectly straight. And I do have a wider pokey tool as well. I've got one that's kind of like a screwdriver handle. It might have been better to give myself a little bit bigger hole. But at least those are both about the same distance off of the center of the rib. That's not going to bother me. I'm not going to let it. So then my papers go in. And you're going to want them, all your little tongs, I want them up and down so that I can fold them sideways. Because I don't have enough height above my page there to fold them up and down. And besides, you wouldn't want them coming down into where you're going to write. Or draw, or stamp, or color. These would be cute with little pieces of watercolor paper too, wouldn't they? Little sketchbook, little book to do watercolors in. And then just fold those over, and then when you use up the paper, you can just add more. You could even put a little flower over top of those if you didn't want to see them. But it's kind of nice knowing they're there so that you realize it's a refillable book. So perfect little notepad for in your purse. You can jot down a list, rip it out and give it to someone, maybe give out your phone number, your YouTube channel, someone you meet on the street or on the bus or whatever, and you can share information with them. The other thing that might be cute in a little book like this is a little pencil or pen. So when they have at Christmas and Valentine's and Halloween, the dollar store sometimes has those tiny little pens, and that might be a cute thing to work into a little elastic on the cover or space for it inside, whatever. But that's what I'm getting there, and I don't mind the stud look on the front. It's a little less feminine, but still not masculine because of the lace. And like I say, you could also then cover these with flowers, or like what I did with the black one, I used some hardware to cover up the grommet hole. Eyelet hole. I keep wanting to call these grommets because the larger ones that you use on tarps and stuff, they're called grommets, but eyelets in this craft. So you could put something like that, or something magnetic, like a little flower with a magnet on the back might stick on there. Might not stay on in your purse though, but ideas floating around. So again, not perfect. It's not perfectly straight. I don't know how well I could manipulate it to straighten it up. But simple, easy, another version of this lovely craft that I'm having so much fun with. I'm using up this whole book of upholstery samples. I've got them all prepped, and I'm going to use them all because I find that most of the time I don't use them all, and then you've got all these random pieces, which are okay to send in swaps, but I'm enjoying the fact that I'm using a whole book. It's just thrilling me a little bit. So I hope you like seeing that, seeing me figure it out as I go. You don't have to always have a plan when you start. You can have an idea in your mind, not being sure how you're going to make it come together, and it can still come together and be cute. And maybe your first one isn't perfect. You know, maybe the ribs line up on the front, but they don't on the back. Don't sweat it. Keep it for yourself, or give it to someone who won't care. Don't give it to your picky friend who's going to pick it apart and not appreciate it. But they don't deserve one anyway. But, you know, just roll with the punches and enjoy the process and have fun with it. And you'll get a lot out of it. That's what I've found anyway. So like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Happy crafting.